So it's officially spring, and it's one of my favorite times of the year, besides Halloween, of course. It's because all the greenery that's coming out and the smell of the earth, the longer days, just the warmth and being outdoors, being able to reconnect with nature after hibernating all winter long. I absolutely just love this feeling. We have a lot of things on our to-do list, and it actually kind of hindered me from getting started on this month's video. I had to get a little bit more motivation than I normally would to get it started. I just decided that I would take one of the house projects that were actually on my to-do list and make it into this month's video, and that way it's kind of like a win-win. So I hope it inspires you as well. I know the design might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I'll at least give you the directions on how to get this done. You could make a design of your own for your style, and let me know if you give it a shot. We'll get right into this month's video. I truly hope that you enjoy. I think it's safe to say that we're all enjoying everything spring is offering us right now. It feels so incredible to be outside again, even if winter's icy hands are still trying to grab a hold of the air. But spring pushes through, as it always does, showing us its ability to restart. And isn't that such an inspiring thing? In my opinion, nature has an infinite source of inspiration. So for this month, I'm combining my love of spookiness and my love of nature. I'm going to be updating our house number sign. I really thought that I could make this something that could show our personalities a bit more. So I'll be reusing the metal numbers, but I will be creating a bat to replace the wooden board. It's barely hanging onto our wall and the paint is chipping off, so it's time for a change. To get started, I removed the metal numbers that I would be reusing and took them to my work table that I set up in my backyard. It was pretty easy to just pull them off as the nails were already falling out. I'm going to be using my jigsaw, some poly and stain that is in the color Mission Oak, and some Rust-Oleum spray paint for the numbers. The next thing to do was to create a template for my bat design, so I drew up exactly what I had planned and made sure that the numbers fit where I wanted them. I made adjustments as necessary, and then I started to cut out my template. Try not to get too caught up on making the wings exactly symmetrical. It will honestly drive you batty. Now to trace my design onto the wood. I try my best to avoid placing my template where I would have to cut through any of the knots in the wood. They are more difficult to cut through. I'm just using some common board that I picked up at Home Depot. And now it is time to cut out our design with the jigsaw. I'm relatively new with using a jigsaw, but it has to be one of my favorite tools. I love the endless possibilities that you can do with it, and I've learned that this is a tool that you must take your time with. It's best just to concentrate on where you want it to go and try not to rush it. I'm also planning on using a Dremel to round out the edges, so I wasn't too concerned if everything wasn't perfect. I knew I could just take a little bit more off with the Dremel if needs be. So I got out my eye protection and my mask and started with the Dremel. This is one of my favorite parts. I find the sanding so relaxing for some odd reason. And I did this because I didn't want to have any harsh edges, so I'm rounding them all off with my Dremel tool. This part actually took longer than drawing and cutting the design out, but it's completely worth it. Did you know that bats are very important pollinators, and over 300 species of fruit depend on bats for pollination? Bats actually need our help, and we can protect these amazing creatures by planting a bat garden or installing a bat house. They really are one badass mammal, and they're the only mammal that can fly. So once I was done with the Dremel, I decided to do a light sanding to smooth everything out and get rid of any leftover pencil marks. Now it was time for the stain. You always want to stir the stain, never shake the can before using it. I like to apply mine with a cloth, but I decided to try a paintbrush this time. I ended up doing 2 coats, and after it was all complete, I think I will stick to using a cloth to apply it from here on out. I did like the way the brush turned out, but it seemed to be going on heavier than I would have preferred. I used a smaller brush to apply it on all the sides, and then used a sponge to apply a light coat to the back. I didn't worry too much about the back of the bat since it would be against the wall, so I was satisfied with just 1 coat. And now we just let it dry. I debated on purchasing some new numbers for the sign, but I didn't really see a reason if I could reuse these ones, so I took a wire brush and started to brush off the paint. This was taking way too long and my hand started to hurt, so I asked my husband if he had any suggestions on how to speed up the process, and I was so happy when he was able to help and have the paint removed in less than 10 minutes. Next, I took the Rust-Oleum spray paint in white to give the house numbers a fresh coat and then let them dry before adding 1 more coat to even out any spots that I may have missed. Now that everything is dry, I lined up the numbers on my bat so that I could nail them into place. After taking some measurements that, looking back on now, I probably should have checked like 6 more times, but anyways, it was time to drill the pilot holes for the screws so that we could get it mounted back onto the house. It's important to drill the pilot holes so that you don't split any of the wood that you just spent so much time on. Luckily, we were able to use the same holes from the first house number board and replace the anchors. Then we just screwed the new bat into place. And we are done. And I really love how this turned out. I can't wait to show you guys, so let's take a look. I truly hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it inspires you to maybe update your house number sign as well. And as always, guys, thank you so much for your time.